Today we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk, only for a moment, just to get some perspective. Charlie Kirk to the black community. What exactly does he have to do with the black community? Absolutely nothing. We're not involved in that. As black people, we need to see through a spiritual lens. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about through a spiritual lens. I'm going to say maybe a divine lens, but that might seem like religion. But I'm just talking about an invisible hand that functions on this planet. Okay, and then to recognize what we have experienced over the last 500 or so years on this planet as black people has been pretty dismal wherever we are, whatever nation we hail from. As we've discussed too many times, we have the same origin, and I use that origin as that continent which we now called Africa prior to the European invasion. Okay. And so that's just a simple reality in our lives. So we understand, the slave trade. We understand the colonization. We understand the hundreds of years of barbaric treatment all over this planet of black people. But today we're in a different particular time. Okay, then we were in no control over our destiny, or very little control over our destiny. Now we're at a particular time where we can take complete control over our destiny, but too many of us are experiencing the fallout of the manifestation of the illnesses that were set upon us, okay? And so that's why we're in such it seems like a self-destructive mindset or self-destructive mode so often. Why would we do things to ourselves that are not productive? Why would we smoke? Why would we drink? Why would we not be healthy? Why would we not exercise? Why would we not eat correctly? Why would we divide ourselves? Why would we be at war with each other? Okay, all these things are not really helpful for our survival, or maybe for our survival, but not for our freedom. Okay, not for our total and complete freedom. And see, that's what I'm looking at today. That's what I'm looking for, is total and complete equality. Okay, no matter where black people are on this planet. Now, specifically for me, because I'm in the United States, in America. Okay, but I'm looking for a total and complete wellness of black people all across this globe. And I think that we have at our fingertips now the tool necessary to actually bring this to fruition, and that is social media. That is the internet. We all have communication with each other if we so desire. Okay. And so to recognize then, when I bring up Charlie Kirk, the guy that was murdered in America, the political guy, I bring him up for a reason, because as black people in this nation, what has really hampered us or kept us from being successful, kept us from progressing beyond the point of second-class citizen status, is that we have short attention spans. We get sidetracked so easy, sort of like that little cat, when you have that red dot on the wall and you move it all over the place. It's going after here, going after there. That's how we are. We get distracted so easily. And what I'm suggesting is, with this Charlie Kirk issue, so he was murdered, and we have so many black people in the United States especially that are taking a moment to empathize and to sympathize with this gentleman. And I'm saying, what for? We've been killed, we've been murdered for hundreds of years here. Even the slave trade, even the transatlantic passage killed so many of us. And since then, throughout slavery in America, after slavery, the Jim Crow and the struggle for civil rights, the lynchings all the way up until modern history, we've been dying. We've been dying en masse at the hands of white people, at the white police. We saw George Floyd, we saw Rodney King, and those are the ones that were caught on film. So this has been the reality of black people's lives in this nation since we've been here. We've been murdered en masse. Hundreds of thousands of us, and probably more than that. And so what I'm suggesting is this one guy passing away really isn't an issue out of the ordinary, especially for black people. It's what we're used to, okay? So this whole thing with with Charlie Kirk is political. Now, it's been amazing, and it's not, and it's white political. It's got nothing to do with us. Because you have the politicians, many of them on the right especially, but white folks always talking about black on black crime. Always talking about, why do you do this to each other? Why do you burn your own cities down? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Talking about black on black issues. Well, this is not involving black people. This is white on white crime, white on white violence, and murder is always terrible no matter who is the perpetrator or who is the victim. But all I'm saying is this isn't about black people. Let them figure it out. It's like you doing something in your home, having some kind of conflict, and then having someone off the street come in and try to settle your situation or pick sides on whose side in your house they want to be on and chastise the other. It's not their business. And so what's going on here in America today with this recent, political murder, it's not really about us. What's really interesting is when the governor of Utah came on, where this killing took place, he seemed very disappointed. He said he prayed to God it wasn't one of them. He prayed to God it wasn't a white person. He prayed to God it wasn't a conservative. He was hoping it was a black person, a brown person, a Muslim, or somebody from out of state or something. He said he actually prayed that. Now, let me give you a bit of advice. If you're going to be praying for something, try to pray before it happens, not after it happens. But anyway, so that's where we're at today. That this is something that doesn't involve us, and under ordinary circumstances, I would say, well, go ahead and get involved and be there and be sympathetic and all that. But we're still running our own race. We're still running for our own lives. We're still running for our own equality. We don't have time for that. And so what I'm suggesting is to our people, we have to stop getting distracted. Not until this race is over, not until this battle is over, not until total equality is achieved can we be sidetracked. And so this is my message today, is to get us focused, to get us on track, because we have so many things that are keeping us off track, keeping us from getting to that place where we're supposed to end up. I was feeling a little bit discouraged last week, because not just with this trying to unify black people. I've been in the black community, in our communities, for almost 30 years now, trying to help people be well, trying to help heal the situation that I see is broken. And me being a student of history, understanding why it's broken. But still, even the why it's broken is not really that important. There's no important to place the blame. What is important is how are we going to be well. And I think recently then, with this whole black issue, trying to unite black people all over the world and finding pushback from black people from various nations against black people from other nations, I got kind of discouraged. And I went to a friend of mine, a Haitian friend of mine, and I was about ready to throw it in, give up. And I said to him, I'm really discouraged about this. I've been doing this for a lot of years and it doesn't seem to be working. I'm thinking about giving up. And his response, don't give up, Martin. Don't give up. And then I remembered, this brother's from Haiti. The only nation whose slave revolt was successful. Okay? And so he's telling me, don't give up. And he gave me some renewed energy, okay? And so maybe I want to discuss a few things about us, how we can stay on target. But one thing I want to talk about maybe is how we are responding to each other, black people from various nations. I see black people from various nations within the African continent, ragging on other black people, like American black people, for example. I see American black people ragging against certain people, black people maybe in England, or maybe other people in Africa, certain nations in Africa, like maybe Nigerians or something, What I'm suggesting is that we need to step back and begin to think about how we're responding to each other. That we have simply aligned ourselves with the nations that we've been living in, and then pitted ourselves against black people from other nations in which they are living in. But the reality, if we would just think about it for a minute, we'd recognize that we are not total equals in whatever nation we are living in. And so why would we be aligning ourselves with this nation just to attack our black brothers and sisters? That is a problem for us. We need to recognize that the ties we have in blood, it should be stronger than the ties we have to this nation, the nations that have exploited us. And recognize we are related. We were stolen. Some of us remain, but we were oppressed. Wherever we've been, we've oppressed. The one common denominator for all of us is that we are related, and we need to realize that. There's strength in unity, and there's chaos in division. And I'm simply suggesting that, look, my life is pretty good. I've made choices in life, and I wasn't always making the right choices. I was in a dismal place for many years. But when I was like 28 years old, I had this epiphany, and things began to change out of intention, okay? And now I'm very, very well today. But that was almost 40 years ago, okay? And to get me to where I am in this place today. And I'm just suggesting then that I could sit back and not be worried and be comfortable for the rest of my life, but my concern is that we need to be well as a people across this globe, as black people. And that's going to take some introspection. That's going to take a time to sit back and recognize who my real family is. Is my family my nation? Look at that history. Or is my family those who I am related to, who come from that same origin, who no matter where we are being oppressed by the same type people? It's important. It's very important. We go on to maybe take care of ourselves. How do we take care of our bodies? How do we take care of that thing that, the only thing in our lives that we have total control over is our bodies. We're in nations that don't really look at us on the same level as every other citizen in that nation. That we can't do always anything and all the things we wish to do when we wish to do them. But the one thing that we have total and complete control over is our bodies. Okay? And so what I'm suggesting is that we take care of our bodies. We fine-tune our bodies, hone them to be lean, to be sharp. Hone, take care of, mold, whatever it is that is at your fingertips. And what's at your fingertips is your body. It is you. And do everything that you can to make yourself perfect. I talk to people, especially like women who are like waiting for that husband, waiting to be found by that special husband and all that. And just waiting and not really doing anything. And so by the time that man does come, if he's going to come, this woman, she might be all out of shape and everything. And same with the man, waiting for a woman. So what I would suggest then is while you're in the waiting process, be fine-tuning yourself, okay? Fine-tuning yourself so that the individual you finally link up with, you will be a blessing to them. You will be a prize to them. You will be someone that they can show off on their arm. So what I'm suggesting is that there's never a time to do nothing. If we're waiting for that special someone, spend that time before you meet that special someone perfecting yourself, honing yourself, making you the best possible version of you there can be. And I'm talking about health-wise. I'm talking about education-wise. I'm talking about financially and every aspect of life. Just begin taking care of yourself, making the right decisions, making the right moves. I know back in my days, in my younger days, I was doing a lot of partying, a lot of running around, getting that buzz of various sorts. Out in the clubs every night of the week. I was spending a whole lot of money. Imagine if I had been saving all that money. That's what I'm suggesting we need to do, is save money, not blow money. It is to take care of our bodies, not just let our bodies go. Take care of ourselves educationally. Don't settle for being on the same educational level that you've been on. Begin improving yourself and expanding your worldview through an extended education. Perfect yourself. This is the path that we need to walk. Because the only way we're going to be ready to make a move, whatever the move is, we're going to have to be ready. And to be ready in all aspects of life. We, as black people on this planet, are actually supermen and superwomen. That's our potential. And we could regain that But it's not going to just happen. We have to do things to bring our wellness into fruition. And I'm telling you, as black people on this planet, we are powerful. We are powerful than every other group on this planet. But we've acquiesced to, oh well, second class and third class citizens. The continent that we now call Africa, pre-European invasion, was civilized, was intellectual, educated folks, medicine, architecture, mathematics, laws. Whatever you can imagine, we were there. That's the blood that runs within our veins. We were there. But we've acquiesced, we've allowed ourselves to become much less, figuring, oh well, this is just the way life is, this is who I am, but it's not. It's not who we are. We have such great potential. I'm telling you myself, I had a high school diploma all the way up until I was 50 years old. And I went to night school. And in 10 years, I earned my associate degree, my bachelor degree, and my MBA. There was so much more potential that I hadn't even realized, I hadn't even tapped into. A couple years later, at 62, 63 years old, I became a certified scuba diver. And still, I'm even doing more and more things today. And the reality, and this is what I want to share with you that's very important, is sometimes when we look at our own lives, we look at what we've been through and some of the choices we made, we really may not feel that energetic about getting our own selves together, although we should. But then we need to look at our children. Look at those little lives that are looking at us. Look at the children that we will have that are not even born yet. They're watching. They're watching. I realized this once, with my son. He was about 3 years old, and I was driving, going to visit his grandmother, and we were on the highway, and he was in the little child seat. And I'm just driving, listening to some music, not even thinking about him, figuring he's asleep. I just happened to look down at him, and he was just staring at me. Just staring at me. And it was at that moment I realized the impact of my life on the life of my child, that he was watching me, even when I didn't even realize he was watching me. And to be just like me, the child is going to be just like us. I know a little bit exaggerated sometimes and not exactly the same, but if you look closely even at your children and their antics sometimes, you'll see yourself in that. And so then I came to understand that whatever level I raised myself to, my child will be standing on my shoulders, will be the next level above me. And their child on their shoulders, the next level above them. So what I can do for my child and for the subsequent generations that will follow is to lift myself up as high as I can. Build myself up the best that I can in every way that I can, and recognize that what I have built will simply be the step stool and the foundation for my children as they begin reaching way higher than I could have ever reached. It's important. It's important to create that environment. I created an environment, my wife and I, of a real nice home in a real nice neighborhood, much larger than anything that we ever needed. We have a few cars, maybe 5 cars, and we have rental property. We have stuff that we don't even need. But the reason, because I wanted my daughter to be born and to grow up in an environment where she felt that this was normal. And although it was far more than anything I ever experienced. But if she's thinking this is normal, then what is she going to aspire to if I keep her on my shoulders? And that is the point. I went to college and got those degrees. When I was 50 years old, a 60-year-old, I got them at night school while I was working. But now look at my children. My son graduated from high school, went off to the university, graduated from the university. My daughter went through high school, graduated high school, at the university now. She's a junior. She's on her way to law school to become an attorney. The point is, my children surpassed me. Okay? Now, education, they haven't surpassed me yet, but they will. Because I started them at this level. I started at this level. My father started at this level. So each generation, we've lifted up the following generation. We have to do that. We can't lose sight of that. So in order to do that, we have to be well. I'm going to be 67 years old this year, 2025, in November. And I'm pretty healthy for a person my age. Now why is that? It doesn't just happen. I exercise. I try to exercise every day. I eat healthy just about every day. This is what happens, okay? and so what I'm suggesting is I have to be that example to my children. Remember my son that was looking up at me that day? Well, look at my children now. That son who was like 3 years old when he was staring at me that day, now he's like cut, muscles, lifts weights. He runs those Reebok challenges. He's way more healthy physically than I ever was. I look at my daughter. She's running 5Ks at least once a week. She's just healthy too. I've never done that. I ran when I had joined the military, but it wasn't long after that I started. I'm not running. So whatever level I lifted myself up to, they were watching. And I wasn't cognizant of this at the time. But where they are healthy now, beyond me, is like as a result of them watching me and then becoming better than me. My daughter doesn't eat sugar. She doesn't drink anything but water. And she eats all these healthy foods, man. That's where my daughter's at. Why? Because she's seen me eat healthy, not to that extent, so she's able to follow in the footsteps of what I've been doing all these years, eating healthy to a point, and she's just taking it to the next level. That's what we want for our children, but in order to do that, we have to be well. Whatever it is you want your child to be, whether you want your child to be well in relationship, whether you want them to be well financially, relationally, in the workplace, spiritually, and financially, and all that good stuff, you have to demonstrate that before them. And I promise you that if you demonstrate these positive aspects before them, they will take them and run with them and be better than you ever were. It's important. So now, this is the challenge. The challenge is we can't be smoking that weed. The challenge is we can't be smoking those cigarettes. We can't be drinking alcohol. We're doing all these things that are poisoning our body. This is not the way it's supposed to be. They're poisons. Where did we get the belief that it's okay to poison our body? And it's okay to poison, just not too much. If it's poison, it's poison. Don't do it. That's all I'm saying. And we have to become healthy because we are supermen. We're supermen all over this planet, and all over the nation I'm in, the nation you're in, whatever nation of you who are watching, we are supermen there. The problem is we don't know it. We don't realize it. We think, oh well, I'm the children of slaves, or I'm the children of having been colonized, or we moved here to this nation, that nation, we're not really being treated well, but we're surviving. No, you're supposed to be running things. You are supermen. You are superwomen. All you'd have to do is begin tending to your body, tending to your choices, and that superman, that superwoman part of you will begin to manifest. That's it. There'll be no stopping us. We'll be running. Do you remember when Obama was running for president? You remember when he was having debates, either in the primary with other Democrats before he got the nomination, and then in the general election against those folks he was running against? Well, Obama was 2-0. He never lost. Why? Because he was an intellectual giant compared to those that he was debating with. They couldn't hold a stick to him. They couldn't be measured next to him because he was so far advanced than they were. That's us. That's who we are as black people on this planet. We are the original people. We were here first. We have the purest DNA. We have the purest origin. Admittedly, a lot of us have mixed up with other DNA. That's obvious by looking at me, But what I claim, what I embrace is that part of me, that the original man from that continent, which they now call Africa, that's me, that's the blood that I claim. And that's the blood that I exercise even within my veins, and recognize that being in a nation where they had a one-drop rule, if they could tell you had some black in you, you were a slave. That gave us a mindset. That gave us a unity with all of the black people, because that's the way they saw us. We had to see ourselves that way in an effort for survival, okay? And that's who we are today. That's why we can say we are all related. That's why we don't go with the color to the Negro and the Indian and all that stuff. No, we are black. We're regardless of what shade we are. There's none better, there's none worse, based on the color of skin. What makes an individual better or worse as black folks in this nation is your economic status, is your physical health. are your addictions and the things that you have that are going against you. Most of them have been self-created, okay? So what I'm suggesting to do, we want to become to that place where we were destined to be, where we're supposed to be, because this ain't it. This isn't happiness. This is acquiescence. This is, oh well, this is the best that I can do. This is what my life is going to be. But this is not what you were called to do. This is not supposed to be your destiny. Your destiny is to be running things. Your destiny is to be in charge. Your destiny is to be healthy, to be smart, to be financially well, to have everything going for you. But it's not going to just happen. You're going to have to make the decisions. And part of that making the decision is making the decision, but the second half of that is not being distracted. Like the Charlie Kirk thing, okay? Or even like all the myriad of other things. We had just to date this program, we had a boxing match on last night, which was Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. Alvarez and Terence Crawford. So you know the date of this program, right? But even stuff like that, okay? And we can enjoy things, but let's not just get so involved in them that we lose sight of the fact of what we're all about. Let me give you an example. We've been on this journey since emancipation, 1865, 100 and some years ago. We should be totally well by now, given that many years. Why aren't we? It's not the white people's fault. It's our fault for not doing what we needed to do to be well. What I'm suggesting is, it's sort of like I would tell that woman or tell that man that's waiting for the right spouse to come walking in the door and sweep them off your feet. Well, while you're waiting, take this time to perfect yourself, to hone your body, to hone your skills, to hold your mind, to hone your education, to build yourself up. So that when that individual finally shows up, you are new and improved. You are powerful. You are a gift that is going to actually be a help to this individual. And so the point then is to begin now taking care of yourself. And you can't with addictions. You can't with unhealthy lifestyles. You can't if you've cut off your flow of education. It's time. It's time to put our nose to the grindstone, as they say, begin working and get ourselves together, determine what it is you want to do, what it is you want to be. Right now, we have at our fingertips, even with the computers and access to the internet, is AI, ChatGPT. Go to ChatGPT and put in all of your everything about you and be honest. Even if it's not all that you'd like it to be, just be honest. There's nobody else looking. Put everything that you're about in there, and then put your hobbies into the things you love to do. Put anything you can think of about you. And of course your educational skills and your other skills and all that stuff. And then ask AI, what can I do with this? How can I monetize this? How can this be something that will support me in my lifestyle? And it'll begin to kick out different directions. And you just need to do those things. Just do them to get there. Man, that is the philosophy of my life, you know. And maybe it's because I was a blue-collar worker. Maybe it's because when I got out of high school, I didn't have a college degree. And maybe because I got out of high school, I went right into the military at 17 years old. Then after the military, I went to work for the B&O Railroad. After the B&O Railroad, 13 years with NCR Corporation. After NCR, now 31 years with the civilian government. The point is, I've had so many different type of jobs. And that's the blue-collar thing. It's like, whoever's going to hire me, that'll be a great job, and I'll take it. You see, a lot of times we get to the point where we don't want certain kind of jobs. I want this kind of job. I want something I can enjoy, something that's going to fulfill me. That's not what the job is for. The job is to fund you. The job is to undergird you with finances and revenue. That's the purpose. But let's just not get it twisted. Let's recognize that it's not the job that is necessarily supposed to satisfy. What satisfies is that paycheck every week or every other week. Make that happen. And in the meantime, while you're making that happen, be coming up with other plans. What are you going to do next? What's the time frame that you're going to be here? What do I have to do to be ready when that time frame hits? Okay? That's what we have to do. And get it together. If you utilize AI like that, and then AI tells you all the things that are available to you, And then you begin to ask AI, well, what can enhance me to make me more valuable and to give me more choices? And AI will tell you, unapologetic. And then you just follow those steps. Walk them out. And your end will be greater than your beginning. And it'll seem like it was all worth it. And it will be. How's that?